Chapter 3 Conversation with a Caterpillar. Now, Elise said to herself, "First, I must get a little bigger, and second, I must find my way into that beautiful garden. I think that will be the best plan. But oh dear, how shall I get bigger? Perhaps I must eat or drink something, but the question is, what?" Elise looked all around her at the flowers and the trees, but she could not see anything to eat. Then she saw a large mushroom near her. It was as tall as she was. She walked across to look at it, and there, on top of the mushroom, was a large caterpillar, smoking a pipe. After a while, the caterpillar took the pipe out of its mouth and said to Elise in a slow, sleepy voice, "Who are you?" "I don't really know, sir," said Elise. "I know who I was when I got up this morning. But I have changed so often since then. I think I am a different person now." "What do you mean by that?" said the caterpillar. "Explain yourself." "I can't explain myself, sir," said Elise, "because I'm not myself, you know." "I don't know," said the caterpillar. "It's difficult to describe," Elise replied politely. "One minute I'm very small, the next minute I'm as tall as a house, then I'm small again. Usually, I stay the same all day, and changing so often feels very strange to me." "You," said the caterpillar, in a very unfriendly voice. "Who are you?" They were now back at the beginning of their conversation, which was not very helpful. Elise felt a little cross and decided to walk away. "Come back," the caterpillar called after her. "I've something important to say." This sounded better, so Elise turned back. "Never get angry," said the caterpillar. "Is that all?" said Elise, trying not to be angry. "No," said the caterpillar. For some minutes it smoked its pipe and did not speak. But at last it took the pipe out of its mouth and said, "So you've changed, have you? How tall do you want to be?" "I would like to be a little larger, sir, please," said Elise. 8 centimeters is really very small." For a while the caterpillar smoked its pipe. Then it shook itself, got down off the mushroom, and moved slowly away into the grass. It did not look back at Elise, but said, "One side will make you taller, and the other side will make you shorter." "One side of what?" thought Elise to herself. She did not say this aloud, but the caterpillar said, "Of the mushroom." Then it moved away into the wood. Elise looked at the mushroom carefully, but it was round, and did not have sides. At last she broke off a piece in each hand from opposite sides of the mushroom. She ate some of the piece in her left hand, and waited to see what would happen. A minute later her head was as high as the tallest tree in the wood, and she was looking at a sea of green leaves. Then a bird appeared and began to fly around her head, screaming, "Egg thief! Egg thief! Go away!" "I'm not an egg thief," said Elise. "Oh no," said the bird angrily. "But you eat eggs, don't you?" "Well, yes, I do, but I don't steal them," explained Elise quickly. "We have them for breakfast, you know." "Then how do you get them, if you don't steal them?" screamed the bird. This was a difficult question to answer, so Elise brought up her right hand through the leaves and ate a little from the other piece of mushroom. She began to get smaller at once and, very carefully, she ate first from one hand, then from the other, until she was about 25 centimeters high. "That's better," she said to herself. "And now I must find that garden." She began to walk through the wood, and after a while she came to a little house. Chapter 4 The Cheshire Cat. There was a boy outside the door, with a large letter in his hand. He was dressed like a boy, but his face was very like a fish, Elise thought. The fish boy knocked at the door, and a second later a large plate came flying out of an open window. A letter for the Duchess, the fish boy shouted. He pushed the letter under the door and went away. Elise went up to the door and knocked, but there was a lot of noise inside and nobody answered. So she opened the door and walked in. She found herself in a kitchen, which was full of smoke. There was a very angry cook by the fire, and in the middle of the room sat the Duchess, holding a screaming baby. Every few minutes a plate crashed to the floor. There was also a large cat, which was sitting on a chair and grinning from ear to ear. Please, Elise said politely to the Duchess, why does your cat grin like that? It's a Cheshire cat, said the Duchess. That's why. I didn't know that cats could grin, said Elise. Well, you don't know much, said the Duchess. Another plate crashed to the floor, and Elise jumped. Here, the Duchess went on. You can hold the baby for a bit, if you like. The Queen has invited me to play croquet, and I must go and get ready. She pushed the baby into Elise's arms and hurried out of the room. Oh, the poor little thing, said Elise, looking at the baby, which had a very strange face. She took it outside into the wood and walked around under the trees. Then the baby began to make strange noises, and Elise looked into its face again. Its eyes were really very small for a baby, and its nose now looked very like the nose of a pig. Don't make noises like that, my dear, said Elise. It's not polite. You're beginning to sound like a pig. But a few minutes later, there was no mistake. It was a pig. Elise put it carefully on the ground, and it ran quietly away on its 4 legs into the wood. I'm pleased about that, Elise said to herself. It will be a good-looking pig, but it would be terrible to be a child with a face like that. She was thinking about pigs and children when she suddenly saw the Cheshire cat in a tree. The cat grinned at her, and she went nearer to it. Please, she said, can you tell me which way to go from here? But where do you want to get to? Said the cat. It doesn't really matter, began Elise. Then it doesn't matter which way you go, said the cat. But I would like to get somewhere, Elise explained. If you just go on walking, said the cat, in the end you'll arrive somewhere. That was true, thought Elise, but not very helpful, so she tried another question. What kind of people live near here? To the left, the cat said, lives a hatter. And to the right, lives a March hare. You can visit either of them. They're both mad. But I don't want to visit mad people, said Elise. We're all mad here, you know, said the cat. I'm mad. You're mad. How do you know that I'm mad? Said Elise. Of course you're mad, said the cat. Only mad people come here. Elise was thinking about this, but the cat went on, are you playing croquet with the Queen today? I would like to very much, said Elise, but nobody has invited me yet. You'll see me there, said the cat, and vanished. Elise was not really surprised at this, because so many strange things were happening today. She was still looking at the tree when, suddenly, the cat appeared. Again. I forgot to ask, said the cat. What happened to the baby? It turned into a pig, Elise said. I'm not surprised, said the cat, and vanished again. Elise began to walk on, and decided to visit the March hare. It's the month of May now, she said to herself, so perhaps the hare won't be as mad as he was in March. Suddenly, there was the Cheshire Cat again, sitting in another tree. Elise jumped in. Surprise. Do you think, she said politely, that you could come and go more slowly? All right, said the cat. And this time it vanished very slowly. First its tail went. Then its body, then its head, and last, the grin. Well, I've often seen a cat without a grin, thought Elise, but never a grin without a cat. Soon she saw the house of the March Hare in front of her. It was a large house, so she ate a little piece of mushroom to get bigger, and walked on. Chapter 5, A Mad Tea Party. There was a table under a tree outside the house, and the March Hare and the Hatter were having tea. A dormouse was sitting between them, asleep. The three of them were all sitting together at one corner of the table, but the table was large and there were many other seats. Elise sat down in a big chair at one end. Have some coffee, the March Hare said in a friendly voice. Elise looked all round the table, but she could only see a teapot. I don't see any coffee, she said. There isn't any, said the March Hare. Then why did you ask me to have some? Said Elise crossly. It wasn't very polite of you. It wasn't very polite of you to sit down. We haven't invited you to tea, said the March Hare. But there are lots of seats, said Elise. Your hair's too long, said the Hatter, looking at Elise with interest. It's not polite to say things like that, said Elise. The Hatter looked surprised, but he said, why is a bird like a desk? Elise was pleased. She enjoyed playing word games, so she said, that's an easy question. Do you mean you know the answer? Said the March Hare. Yes, said Elise. Then you must say what you mean, the March Hare said. I do, Elise said quickly. Well, I mean what I say. And that's the same thing, you. No. No, it isn't, said the Hatter. Listen to this. I see what I eat means one thing, but I eat what I see means something very different. Elise did not know what to say to this. So she took some tea and some bread and butter while she thought about it. The dormouse woke up for a minute and then went to sleep again. After a while the Hatter took out his watch, shook it, then looked at it sadly. Today's slow. I told you that butter wasn't good for watches, he said angrily to the March Hare. It was the best butter, said the March Hare sadly. Elise was looking at the watch with interest. It's a strange watch, she said. It shows the day of the week, but not the time. But we know the time, said the Hatter. It's always 6 o'clock here. Elise suddenly understood. Is that why there are all these cups and plates? She said. It's always tea time here, and you go on moving round the table. Is that right? But what happens when you come to the beginning again? Don't ask questions, said the March Hare crossly. You must tell us a story now. But I don't know any stories, said Elise. Then the March Hare and the Hatter turned to the Dormouse. Wake up, Dormouse, they shouted loudly in its ears. Tell us a story. Yes, please do, said Elise. The Dormouse woke up and quickly began to tell a story, but a few minutes later it was asleep again. The March Hare poured a little hot tea on its nose, and the Hatter began to look for a clean plate. Elise decided to leave and walked away into the wood. She looked back once, and the March Hare and the Hatter were trying to put the Dormouse into the teapot.